How hard is each badge? Well, this depends on some badges and block tails. Some can be really hard and some can be easy. In this video, I'll be ranking on how hard each badge is, with this tier list, F being super easy and S being really hard. Now, this won't include unobtainable badges like Play Demo 1, Demo 2, and Demo 3, and Outrageous Builder, since you can't obtain those anymore. Hope you enjoyed this video. Now, I will be going in order based on the wiki. So yeah, humble beginnings. I mean, this is pretty self-explanatory. All you do is create a game file to play the game. I mean, if you want to play the game, you are forced to do this achievement. So yeah, this gets an F tier in terms of difficulty. Loaded deck. This badge requires you to get 30 battle points. Now this is a lot of battle points, and you are most likely during your first playthrough won't get this badge because of the level requirement, which is level 10. And you would also most likely focus on HP and SP since you can't really get many cards in the beginning. Some examples are Sword Toss getting moved to Demo 3 in the Catacombs, which costs 1 battle point, and Knight and Baller getting moved to Demo 4 shop in Vermilion Village. For difficulty, I would give it a B tier since once you beat the game, you can easily get this achievement since you would get a lot of ticks. Bombast. To get this badge, you have to kill 4 enemies at once using the bomb. Now at first glance, this seems hard, but it is really easy because of 2 things. First is that the bomb can be bought in the prologue shop, which doesn't take much effort to get since all you have to do is beat the pre-prologue, which is pretty easy. It costs 25 ticks, which is expensive, but do keep in mind that you get 50 ticks at the beginning, which is not that bad. The second thing is that you can fight 4 ant armies in the caves, which are near the line bounce area. Since the ants have 2 health and the bomb deals 2 damage, this is one of the easiest achievements to get, which lands a spot in C tier. Just a pretty easy badge to get in general. Baller. Now for this badge, you have to use the line bounce card to hit 4 enemies in a row. This is basically like Bombastic, but with the ball instead of using line bounce. Now this is pretty easy in my opinion, as you can use the 4 ants like with Bombastic, since the ants are directly near the place where you get line bounce, which makes it super easy to get. This I think is relatively in the same tier, which is C. Not too hard and a bit easy to get in my opinion. True DPS. To get this badge, you would have to deal 12 damage to 1 enemy. Now this seems hard on paper, but it is a lot easier said than done. First of all, with the release of Demo 4, they basically added ways to get more damage. One of the more notable ones being the new card, Aggressor. This card basically gives you +1 damage, but your HP meter doesn't roll. This basically means that if you take 10 damage, you automatically take 10 damage rather than passively taking 10 damage, like with a tick down. This combined with the +2 damage first strike buff at the beginning if you hit an enemy with a Hyper Ball or Dynamite, and Apple Pie being super easy to get now with the recipe, this achievement is pretty easy to say. This badge for me deserves an A tier since you have to beat Demo 4 before getting this badge since there are a lot of steps to do. Savior. To get this badge, you have to save a teammate using cure or an item to save someone when someone is dying. Now to do this regularly is pretty hard since every person is going to want to survive every enemy they come across. Now this achievement for me is easy to get since you can just get an alt account to turn on hard mode and just let them die, then just use an item or card that gives them HP and you will get the badge. Now this is really easy in my opinion because you can buy a cheeseburger in the prologue for 4 ticks, which is really cheap for this badge. I would give this a C tier for difficulty since you basically do it in the beginning and it takes some skill, but not a lot. All the bucks achievements. To get these badges, you have to collect a certain amount of bucks depending on the achievement you are going for. The amounts right now are getting 10 bucks, 20, 30, and 40. In every demo, I'm 100% confirmed, but there will be an achievement to get 50 once Demo 5 comes out. The bugs as well are pretty hidden in my opinion, because they could be behind walls, secret rooms, etc. Now, you might think that if they are hard to find, it is hard to get. Well, there is one card that makes it so much easier to find bugs, that being Ice Spy. This makes it so that once you enter a room with a bugs in it, it will notify you, and it will continuously notify you once you are near it. To be fair, you would have to reach a certain demo for each one you want. So in general, all these badges get a B tier because you do have to progress the game. All card achievements. To get these badges, it's like the same thing as the bucks achievements, but instead it is with cards. Now, this will actually be kind of challenging to simply get because of 60 different cards. Now, in total, there are 73 cards, which is only 13 more than the specific requirement. Some cards are super easy to collect since they can just be found on the map, or some can be very expensive, which may lead to lots of grinding for ticks. We can also see that most cards are like 100 ticks or more, which is insane since there are many cards in shops that would take like around 4,000 ticks to buy everything, which is insane. Now, an alternative way is to farm enemies, but the chances are so low, so that's kind of out of the question. So in total, with the amount of ticks you would need, these badges would get an A tier for me. I already know I'm about to get hate for making this. Item Initiate. To get this badge, you have to collect 50 items. Now, this is a lot easier said than done because there are a total of 135 items. You can just buy them in the shop, and since you just need to discover them, this achievement can be easily done because 50 items is not a lot when you consider the 135 items that are in the game. So this gets a C tier for difficulty. difficulty. Not too bad nor too great. Item Novice. To get this badge, you have to collect 100 items instead of 50, like the previous badge. Now for me, when Demo 4 wasn't released, it used to be one of the hardest achievements since there were only 103 items back then. And if you were to buy every single item and sell them, you would only have around 97, meaning that to get the extra 3, you would have to grind enemies, which is not fun since but with the release of Demo 4, this badge became so much easier with the release of 32 new items, which just made it easy to get. So for me, I'll be ranking it as a B tier. Used to be S tier, but now the update made it easy, which I don't really mind to be honest. Obsession. To get this badge, you would have to get 200 of the same items. This sounds like an awful and painful quest, but all you really need is 200 ticks and lots of patience. You can just buy items that cost 1 ticks from shops that sell apple cores and apple juices. This just requires a lot of patience and you can get this achievement. I'll give it a C tier because all you really need is 200 ticks. 10 VIP. To get this badge, all you need to do is go inside the VIP convention, which is just walking around the area until you find Roblox HQ, which should be pretty easy, as there is a zombie at the beginning that guides you on where you should be going. The epic thing about this is that outside of Roblox HQ, you will find a ton of familiar faces. Some include Redibles, aka the Doors Dev, Stickmaster Luke, Nicholas, etc. I mean, apart from that, it is pretty easy, and I would give it an F tier, since you can get it in 5 minutes when creating a new slot. A price to pay. To get this badge, you have to fight Terry when finishing the pre-prologue. Now, this is pretty easy, as you just say to Terry when waking up after the pre-prologue, "How would I kill you?" Then he will get upset and want to fight you. Problem is that he has 1 million health, which is intended as he helps you kinda throughout the game. He has a move that cannot be dodged, which is the RPG, and it does 1000 damage. I mean, this badge isn't hard because you just have to fight him, but I would give this a D tier because it isn't that bad. Free Balloon Day. To get this badge, you have to go outside the hotel in the prologue, and there will be a clown with a bunch of balloons wanting to flex on you. I don't know, but you have to get the sword, which is pretty easy, as all you have to do is beat red and blue, which is not that hard. Then you go back and yeet the balloons into the sky, which he will get mad. This badge is pretty easy, and I would give it a C tier just because you would need the sword before doing it. Buyer's Remorse. To get this badge, you have to change your stats in the Bisville library. Now, all you need is at least level 2 to change your stats, which is pretty easy, and have 15 ticks, which is also easy because you most likely have more than enough ticks when reaching level 2. This badge isn't that bad, so I'll be ranking it a D tier. Once you get it, it's not that bad. To be honest, once you want to do certain strategies, you would need to eventually change it, so it would make more sense to like get this achievement like accidentally. King of the Sea. To get this badge, you need to catch all 10 fish in the fishing spot. Now, this sounds easy until you realize that each worm costs 10 ticks, and the first few fish are pretty easy, usually being the first things you get, until you get the shark and whale, which are a 1% chance and a 0.25% for the whale. Now, this is brutal since worms are expensive considering the chances for it are so low, and to keep in mind, you would need to collect all 10 fish, which is hard, so this will be the first S tier. Brutal and bad, and made me suffer. Hello World. To get this badge, you have to beat the prologue, which basically just means that you have to beat red and blue plus Stubador, which isn't that hard. All you really do is just traverse through the Miados and just enter the cave. Then you get the badge. This badge for me gets a C tier. Not bad, but not too hard. Dethroned. To get this badge, you have to beat Demo 1, which means that you have to defeat Cruel King. Now, Cruel King used to be hard, as he could freeze you with the Spec Strike move, which made it so much harder to win, as you could lose a turn. But now the boss is pretty easy now, which is pretty sad, because I missed the game when it was hard. But defeating him is pretty sad, as all he wanted was to protect his kingdom, which lands a spot in B tier. Not too bad to get. Just long, since you have to be Demo 1. Stylish. To get this badge, you have to defeat the Cruel King while taking no damage. To be honest, his moves are pretty easy to dodge, and also if you suck at dodging, no offense by the way, you can just use items that increase the timing window, plus defense cards to make it easier. This badge I would rank a B tier because you actually need to practice in order to get this. Blockster. To get this badge, you have to defeat all the bosses on Demo 1 using the hard mode card. These bosses include Supreme Man, Banish Knight, Spike Killboss, Sentient Statue, and Cruel King. Now this badge takes some skill since hard mode makes it so that you take 2x more damage, plus your guarding window is lower, meaning that it'll be much harder to dodge attacks. Now, since the Demo 1 bosses aren't that bad, this badge is not that hard to get in my opinion, meaning I'll be ranking it in an A tier, because it is harder compared to other badges. Rock in a hard place plus Heartless. Now, I linked these two badges since they basically have the same type of description. To get a rock in a hard place, you have to save Jim, who is buried in cracked walls in the Black Rock Mountains. To get the Heartless badge, you have to not save Jim, which is just harsh. As you can see, these two badges are heavily linked since you have the choice whether to save Jim or not. Regardless, I would give these badges a C tier since you need to progress and don't need to face any kind of boss. Hot Seat. To get this badge, you have to blow up a knight that is guarding prisoners with your dynamite. This badge is pretty easy since the guard is in the rightmost room once you enter the castle, which is pretty easy to reach because you at most have to fight one enemy before reaching there. I would give this badge a C tier as it isn't that hard to get. Pretty Fire. To get this badge, you have to discover the fire ants in the secret cave where they are found. In there, you will find some cool things. One is a box The second is the fireball card. And lastly, some cool fire ants. This badge is pretty self-explanatory. The room is in my opinion pretty hidden, but once you watch a video, it should be pretty easy. As it is near the Supreme Ant Cave, I would give this badge a D tier because it is not that hard. And the cave is also really cool as well. Pretty cool. To get this badge, you have to discover the secret penguin hideout in the Rotown waterfall. And there will be a few things. One is the number of penguins there. Another is a snowball card lying in the frozen water. And lastly, a bucks. Now this area is pretty cool since I love penguins, and with the amount of chit-chatting you can do, this badge is a D tier right with the pretty fire badge, as you just discover a room. Pancina. To get this badge, you have to beat Demo 2, basically meaning defeat the bubonic plant after Griefer turns into the machine he is. This badge is not that bad since the other bosses you have to fight are pretty cool. They aren't really that hard or too easy, which is epic for me since I like challenges, I guess. The ending is also pretty sad, with the mayor lamenting about Griefer. I would give this badge a B tier, the same as for beating Demo 1. Alternate reality. To get this badge, you have to defeat the Supreme Mosquito, which has 60 health. She has 3 moves. One is summoning a mosquito swarm, which has 3 HP. The second is hers being able to stab you 2 times, dealing 8 damage for each stab. Plus it can pierce defense, so yeah, rip defense cards. Lastly, and probably the most annoying move she has, is her stabbing you. It deals 8 damage and poison, and on top of that, it steals your health, which is just annoying. Now, in my opinion, this boss is not that bad if you have lots of healing items, as you can just heal with the amount of damage she deals. So I would say this badge is an A tier, a bit hard with her moves, but not the worst. Dangerous Living. To get this badge, you have to defeat all the bosses on Demo 2 with hard mode on. These bosses include Komodo Dragon, Bigfoot, Reefer, and Bubonic Plant. Now, these bosses aren't that bad in my opinion. This is in my opinion beating Demo 1 with hard mode on, but just a bit harder since they deal more damage. I would give this an A tier, not too hard, just overall not the worst. The same as like with Demo 1. Personal bag. To get this badge, you have to meet Gru near the Bisville Airport. Now, to get to the Bisville Airport, you have to beat Demo 1 to unlock Shrink. And for you to play Demo 2, you have to beat Demo 1, which will unlock the airport. This badge isn't that bad to get, and I would give it a B tier since you do have to beat Demo 1 to access the area before that. Helpful hand. To get this badge, you have to tell the ants to turn down the volume in the anthill. This is pretty easy, as all you have to do is just talk to the ant that is sleeping and tell the ants who are watching TV to turn down the volume. I would give this a C tier because it isn't that bad to get, since like all you do is just talk with an NPC like 2 times and that's it. And it is also a pretty cool area and I love it. Good noodle. To get this badge, you have to beat the Jeep minigame trying to chase Griefer. After you've beaten the Jeep minigame, you have to go to the Bisville arcade. In there you will find the Jeep minigame at the top right. Then you will have to get a score of 91 or higher to get the badge. Now this is hard in my opinion because for my eyes it hurts after a while because of this constant like 30 FPS thing. This badge also, from what I've heard, is much more painful on mobile compared to PC. So for that, I'll be giving this badge an A tier, pretty hard, but not as bad compared to the next badge. Is this a joke? To get this badge, you have to die to a purple frog. Now this seems easy, but this is one of the most painful badges to get. First of all, the frog just runs away. Like that's his only moveset, and that's what he can do. So you might think dying to him is impossible. Well, if you are lucky and want this badge, he can spawn with a bomb with a 4.8% chance of holding. Then sometimes he can even run away with it while holding the bomb, which just makes it so much more annoying. Now the bomb deals 2 damage, meaning you have to have 2 HP or less. The amount of things you need is super rare, so I'll be giving this an S tier. Nothing much to be said, just overall really annoying and just made me suffer. Redemption. To get this badge, you have to beat Demo 3, basically meaning defeat Hatred. Now in my opinion, Demo 3 is much harder compared to Demos 1 and 2, since the Dream Road bosses can be hard. Talking about fear with the big hardest move to dodge, and Hatred giving confusion every 2 seconds when he uses the Corrupt's energy. So for that, I'll be giving this badge an A tier just because of the difficulty ramp up, like from Demos 1 and 2, because like Demo 1 was not that bad in my opinion, and Demo 2 was just like a weirder version of Demo 1. So yeah, Monster Hunter. To get this badge, you have to beat every Demo 3 boss on hard mode. This includes Turkey, Slasher, Greed, Sawtooth, Fear, and Hatred. Now this is much harder since there are a whopping 6 bosses to worry about. Some of them are even really hard without the use of items plus strats. So just for that, I'll be giving this an S tier without an issue. Like one move can deal 20 damage to the whole party, which is just insane. A call for help. To get this badge, you have to get the Call Cruel King card, which is easy because all you do is just defeat Cruel King 5 times in the Gru area. This just takes time to do and isn't that bad in my opinion, so I'll be giving this a C tier. Pretty easy in my opinion because the Cruel King also has 30 health and like you can just like do stuff with it. So yeah. Disgusting Mistake. To get this badge, you have to eat a mistake, which is an item that can be made by the ghost chef by using the raw ingredient. For some enemies can drop it. This item deals 200 damage and just kills you instantly. This badge in my opinion is pretty easy to get since once you get a completely random item and give it to the ghost chef and just use it in a battle, this badge I would give it a D tier, which isn't that bad. Just pretty easy to get in general because of it's just basically you using an item, which is like really easy in my opinion. Noisemaker. To get this badge, you have to get all the sounds on the megaphone at the beginning of the dream world. Now you can't leave this area because you have to discover them all at once before like, yeah. This badge is pretty tedious to get since there are a lot of sounds that the megaphone can play. For me, this gets an A tier because of how long it takes. It's not really any skill, it's just long because like you have to keep spamming E and E and E. But a tip I have if you're on PC is just use a macro. It will help you a lot. Heat Resident. To get this badge, you have to beat Demo 4. This badge for me isn't that bad since the Demo 4 bosses aren't that bad. They are for me much harder compared to Demo 3 if you're playing with 3 or more people, since every boss has at least one AoE move. For example, the Flochi has the card move, Temple Guardian has like the Ray of Haha or the fire move, Captain Chada has the barrel toss if you don't dodge it, and the Ancients have like the Ultra Beam move. Even then, this isn't that bad of a badge to get, as it is beating Demo 4, which is pretty fun. So I would give this an A tier, the same as beating Demo 3. Blood Red Sun. To get this badge, you have to beat every boss on hard mode in Demo 4, which when it first came out, I had no idea what I was doing, so it ended up taking me a long time to get. The reason why this badge is so difficult is because of how much damage like you take when you have hard mode on, and the guarding window was smaller, meaning that it's harder to dodge attack. Like for example, like the beam, it did like 4 damage every time a shot, which is like so, it's like a lot because like he's like spamming it, which basically guarantees you like you lose like a lot of health. So for that, I'm gonna be giving this an S tier just because of how much pain I suffered when it came out. If you want to know a strat that I use, just use pitas and 1 hummus and you will get a free 20 health. Converging timelines. To get this badge, you have to defeat Fin McCool, which is a super boss below Vermilion Village. First of all, you have to beat Demo 4 before attempting this boss. Now this boss is super hard because, to keep in mind, he was a scrap Demo 7 boss, meaning that he has a huge damage output. First of all, he has a couple of moves. 1, he can swing his bat 2 times at you, dealing 10 damage per hit, and 20 if you have hard mode. Secondly, he can yeet a baseball towards you, dealing 20 damage plus confusion, which is really annoying. This is super bad if you get hit by this, obviously. Lastly, and by far the most annoying move with him, is his summons. Like, why did they gotta put a megaphone dude that can heal the whole squad by 10, and a shotgun that can deal 20 damage if you don't dodge it? Now, there is an easy way to avoid the summons, and that is just using Firebrand 2 times. You will need 4 sword energy for this, which is a lot. Now, this takes a lot of skill since you basically need to dodge Finn's attacks before that. This deserves an easy S tier for the amount of difficulty it has whenever like people first played it. So yeah, Strange Taste. To get this badge, you have to craft a special item. To do this, you need 1 compost, which can be made by giving the ghost chef 1 apple core, and you need an onion ring. Then you have to get the cookbook. Then you can combine both items to get the special. This badge is pretty easy regardless, so I would give it a C tier, since you need this for the next badge, which I'm about to talk about, which people obviously want, since it's a community favorite. True Pancina. To get this badge, you have to cure Griefer. The first step I already explained, you have to get the special. Then you hand it to the mayor, who will give it to Griefer. This badge is pretty easy and probably the most wanted badge, since Griefer will be an epic ally to have, so I'll be giving this a C tier, same as Strange Taste. His moves are really good as well. Like the first move, he can like yeet his crowbar and deal like 6 damage to the enemies and inflicting poison. And the second move, he uses the bodyguard card on you, which basically like he tanks some of the damage for you, which is really good against Finn's attacks because like yeah. So it's true. To get this badge, you have to use Garlic on Vlad, who is a vampire. Garlic can be bought at the Vermilion Village for 25 ticks. This badge is pretty easy as you basically just kill a vamp with garlic. I will give this a D tier because you just need to do 2 things. 1 is get garlic and 2 is fight a vampire and just use the item. Hope you enjoyed this long video that I made. Yippee!